In the last video, we saw how Job's faith was tested, how a righteous man lost everything in a single moment. His wealth, his children, his health, all gone. A man once surrounded by laughter now sat alone in silence, scraping his wounds with broken pottery. Yet in all his pain, Job did not curse God. His faith held firm. But now a new test begins, a harder one. Because sometimes the hardest trial is not what happens around you, it's what doesn't happen at all. This is where Job's story enters the silence of heaven. The prayers go up, but no answers come down. The tears fall, but the clouds give no rain. God, who once blessed Job so abundantly, now seems nowhere to be found. The sky that once spoke light now feels empty. And this is where most of us break. When life collapses, we cry for God. But when he doesn't respond, when the heavens seem like brass, when the silence stretches into days and nights and weeks, faith starts to tremble. You begin to ask, "Why me, Lord? What did I do wrong? Are you still there?" Job asked those same questions. He said, "Oh, that I knew where I might find him." But there was no reply. The silence wasn't punishment, it was purpose. Because faith is not proven when God speaks, it's proven when he's quiet. The silence of God is not the absence of God. It's the classroom where trust becomes real. Imagine Job sitting there, his body aching, his mind racing. His friends accuse him, saying, "You must have sinned, Job. God wouldn't do this for no reason." They misunderstood him. But even worse, heaven stayed quiet. No thunder, no visions, no voice from above, only wind, only pain. But that silence was not empty, it was divine, because silence is where God refines the soul. Sometimes God withdraws his voice to deepen his presence. He hides not to harm us, but to heal us. He hides so that we stop chasing the blessings and start seeking the blesser. When Job's world fell apart, God wasn't punishing him, he was purifying his faith. Faith that only thrives in answered prayers is shallow. But faith that survives in silence, that's gold. And maybe you've been there. Maybe you are there right now. You've prayed, but nothing seems to change. You've cried, but the pain remains. You go to church, you lift your hands, but heaven seems far away. Listen carefully. Silence doesn't mean God forgot you. It means he's watching your faith mature. Job didn't know that heaven had a conversation about him. He didn't hear God say to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is none like him." He didn't know that God was proud of him. He didn't realize that his endurance was silencing hell itself. So when you can't hear God, trust that heaven is hearing you. When the silence feels unbearable, remember, it's not a pause in the story. It's the sacred part where faith learns to breathe without answers. God's silence doesn't mean he's inactive. He's working in the unseen. He's shifting things, aligning hearts, preparing restoration. Job couldn't see it, but his endurance was writing a testimony that would echo for generations. Sometimes we want God to speak and explain, but he chooses to stay silent and sustain. Because if he explained everything, faith would have no reason to exist. There are seasons when the silence is God's greatest gift. It strips away the noise, the distractions, the idols we build around comfort, until all that remains is you and him. The silence isn't proof of distance, it's proof of intimacy. Because only those God trusts deeply are allowed to walk through the quiet and still believe. Job's silence didn't last forever, but while it did, it revealed something magnificent. A faith that loved God, not for what he gave, but for who he is. When the time was right, the voice of God broke through the whirlwind, not to apologize, not to explain, but to reveal. He reminded Job that he was still in control, that he commands the seas, the stars, the storms. And in that moment, Job understood something he never had before, that even in silence, God was never absent. He was there in the ashes, in the pain, in the tears, holding everything together. And when Job finally saw this truth, the silence lifted, the test ended, and restoration began. So if you find yourself in that same silence, don't lose hope. You may not hear him, but he hears you. You may not see his hand, but he's holding your heart. The silence means you're trusted. The waiting means something eternal is being written in you. Just like Job, your pain will not end in despair, it will end in revelation. You will look back and say, "Now I see what you were doing, Lord. You were never far, you were never gone. So wait, trust, Believe in the quiet, because even in the silence, God is still speaking. If this message touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Someone you know is fighting in the silence and needs to hear this today. Share this video, subscribe to Heaven Quest, and let faith rise again in those who have forgotten how to hear. Because even when God is silent, His love is still the loudest sound in the universe.